Hey guys, Bios Ramos, and today the Miami Dolphins lost to the Kansas City Chiefs, 33 to 27, and yeah, it was close. I mean, 6 point game at the end of it, but it was rough. It was rough. Second half was especially rough for a lot of Miami Dolphin fans. So, with that being said, let's get into some of the stats. Total yards of offense for both teams. Kansas City had 448 yards. Dolphins had 367. Turnovers, Kansas City had 4, Miami had 1. Time of possession, Kansas City 28 minutes, 30 seconds. Miami Dolphins 31 minutes, 30 seconds. First downs, Kansas City had 22, Miami had 27. So, I mean, if you look at half of these stats, you think, man, the Dolphins won the game. But they did not. When we go to the box score, so obviously Patrick Mahomes, Kansas City Chiefs quarterback, I mean, MVP type quarterback. He went 24 for 34, 393 yards, and then 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Yes, 3 interceptions. He was sacked 3 times for a loss of 39 yards. So the first half was not very good for Patrick Mahomes, especially the first quarter. But the Chiefs are very well known to be a second half team. You know, they come alive after halftime, and I mean, they scored 19 points in the second half. So, I mean, the Dolphins did keep up with them 17 points, but it was definitely the transition from the second to the third quarter that really screwed over the Dolphins, because the second quarter the Chiefs had 14 points and the Dolphins only had 3 points between the third and the fourth quarter. Now, look at the Dolphins. Tua Tagovailoa went 28 for 48, 316 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, 4 sacks for a loss of 29 yards. Yes, so Tua threw his first interception. Is it completely his fault? No, not really. I mean, yeah, he threw it into double coverage, but the way that Jakeem Grant kind of went after the ball, it popped up and just landed right in Tyrann Mathieu's hands. I'm not going to take too much blame towards Tua on that one. And then Lynn Bolden Jr. had a throw. Nothing happened with it. He didn't complete it. But good thing that he got rid of it, because he was about to get taken for like a 10-yard loss. So, Kansas City rushing. Tyreek Hill had 1 carry for 32 yards and a touchdown. Clyde Edwards-Helaire had 16 carries, 32 yards. Nothing too crazy. Le'Veon Bell, 2 carries, 21 yards. And then Patrick Mahomes, 5 carries, 9 yards. For the Miami Dolphins, we have DeAndre Washington, 13 carries, 35 yards. Tua Tagovailoa, 6 carries, 24 yards, 1 touchdown. Patrick Laird, 4 carries, 19 yards. And Lynn Bolden Jr. had 2 carries for 2 yards. I mean, rushing attack for either team wasn't really great. Obviously, about 15-yard difference between the two overall. And it just wasn't enough. The Dolphins were definitely feeling their loss of running backs at the moment, with Myles Gaskin out and also Savon Ahmed. Both of those guys out. Very unfortunate for the Dolphins. And the Myles Gaskin happened yesterday, literally in the afternoon, a little bit after I made my video. So, receiving, Travis Kelce had 8 receptions, 136 yards. Imagine 300 yards. 1 touchdown. Travis Kelce had himself a day. Right after him was Tyreek Hill, 3 receptions, 79 yards, 1 touchdown. One of them was the 44-yard touchdown that he got. Next is Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He had 5 receptions for 59 yards. Sammy Watkins, 2 receptions, 52 yards. Mecole Hardman had 3 receptions, 40 yards. Le'Veon Bell had 2 catches for 14 yards. Demarcus Robinson, 1 reception, 13 yards. And then Anthony Sherman got targeted once, but he could not bring it down. So, Lynn Bolden was the Dolphins' leading receiver with 7 receptions, 82 yards. You'll be kind of surprised with that. And then the second guy is Matt Collins, 5 receptions, 66 yards. And you're asking how these guys are on the top of the thing, because Devontae Parker went out, Jakeem Grant went out, Mike Gesicki went out. So, like, a lot of our big guys just got taken out of the game. It's very unfortunate. So Mike Gesicki had 5 receptions, 65 yards, 2 touchdowns. Jakeem Grant, 3 receptions, 32 yards. Adam Shaheen, 2 receptions, 26 yards. Durham Smythe, 2 receptions, 19 yards. DeAndre Washington, 2 receptions, 17 yards. And who was it? Malcolm Perry, 1 reception, 5 yards. Patrick Laird, 1 reception, 4 yards. Devontae Parker and Antonio Callaway both got targeted twice. None of them could bring down the ball. Fumbles. So we have Mecole Hardman. He fumbled one, and I think Patrick Mahomes recovered it. And then, let's see, Byron Jones fumbled it. Emmanuel Ogbah recovered that one. And then Cameron Grugier-Hill recovered the fumble from Mecole Hardman. Not too crazy there, but we actually got a turnover off of that. That was in the third quarter. So then let's talk about defense. L'Jarius Sneed had 7 total tackles, 7 solo, 1 pass deflection. So this is for the Kansas City Chiefs. Daniel Sorensen had 7 total, 4 solo. Bashad Breeland had 5 total, 4 solo, 3 pass deflections. Ben Nyman had a tackle for a loss, a QB hit. Chris Jones had a sack, tackle for a loss, pass deflection, and a QB hit. Mike Dana had 1 sack, 3 tackles for a loss, and 1 QB hit. Let's go down the list. Frank Clark had a sack, tackle for a loss, QB hit. So did Tershawn Warrington. He had the same stat line basically. 1 sack, 1 tackle for a loss, 1 QB hit. Tyrann Mathieu had 2 pass deflections. Rashad Fenton had 1 pass deflection. So did Kavarius Ward. He had a pass deflection. And then lastly, Mecole Hardman had a touchdown. We'll talk about that. And Alex Okafor had 3 QB hits. So, and then for the Miami Dolphins, we have Brandon Jones as the Dolphins' leading tackler with 9 total tackles, 4 solo. And then we have Jerome Baker, 8 total, 5 solo, 2.5 sacks, 2 tackles for a loss, and 3 QB hits. Eric Rowe had 2 pass deflections. Next, we have Christian Wilkins with the other half of a sack, QB hit. Shaq Lawson got a QB hit. Zach Sealer got 3 tackles for a loss. Byron Jones had a pass deflection. Andrew Van Ginkel had a pass deflection and a tackle for a loss and a QB hit. Emmanuel Ogbah, 1 QB hit, and then Xavier Howard had 1 pass deflection. Now, when we talk about interceptions, Tyrann Mathieu had an interception off of Tua for 5 yards return. And then we have Eric Rowe, who had an interception return for 22 yards. Byron Jones had also an interception return for 15 yards. And then Xavier Howard's was a touchback, which was probably the best interception of the day. Kick returns. Mecole Hardman had 1 return for 15 yards. Demarcus Robinson had 1 return for no yards. And then no kick returns for the Dolphins. Punt returns, Mecole Hardman had 1 return for 67 yards and a touchdown. Then for the Dolphins, Jakeem Grant had 1 return for -4 yards. And then Antonio Callaway had 2 returns for 12 yards. Kicking, Harrison Butker went 1 for 1 on field goals and then 4 for 4 on extra points. And then Jason Sanders went 2 for 3 on field goals and 3 for 3 on extra points. The one that he missed really hurt the Dolphins. I'm going to go into about that in a bit, but that one really hurt the Dolphins. Then we have for punting, Tommy Townsend. He had 4 punts, 198 yards, no touchbacks. 1 was in the 20, longest was 58. And then Matt Hack had 5 total punts, 234, 1 touchback. 1 was in the 20, and then longest was 54. Lastly, before I go into my thoughts of the game, standings. Buffalo Bills are still 9-3. I believe their game is happening right now as we speak, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's tonight. My bad. And then they're playing the Pittsburgh Steelers. Dolphins dropped to 8-5, and then the Patriots lost. That helps us out a lot. 6-7. Jets 0-12. Then Kansas City 12-1, number 1 in their division. And then Las Vegas is 7-5, Denver 5-8, Los Angeles Chargers 3-9. So let's talk about that field goal that Jason Sanders missed. Came off of the first interception. I think that interception went to that was the one that went to Byron Jones, and Dolphins were working on something, and then from I believe the 35. Jason Sanders missed a field goal. Very unfortunate, very uncharacteristic of him. Next drive, Dolphins forced a 3-and-out. Then Dolphins answered back with a touchdown. Next drive after that for Kansas City, another interception. Eric Rowe intercepts this one. and then Dolphins answered out with a field goal. So Dolphins are up 10-0 at this point. Next Kansas City drive, they get a touchdown. Dolphins 3 and out. Chiefs 3 and out. Dolphins throw an interception on 4 plays. That was really unfortunate. And then Kansas City comes back, scores a touchdown, and then 3 plays into that, after we go into halftime. Dolphins had a chance to try to put some points, took a sack, and then just didn't try to get the ball off. Just really sat there behind center. I don't know what the idea was behind that. If you're not gonna just do that, just go back into the locker room and screw it. But then the Kansas City Chiefs get the ball at the half. They score a touchdown pretty much right away. That was the Tyreek Hill one. That was, I don't know. That was a bad call defensively, or at least bad execution. Our safety that was covering the middle drops down, and then drops down like 4 steps, and by the time he does that, Tyreek Hill's kind of already behind him, and he has to play catch up to that. So I don't understand the concept of that. Then the next Dolphins drive, we punt, and they return it for a touchdown. Not looking good. Next Dolphins possession, punt. Then Kansas City's going down the field, and Dolphins are able to punch out the ball and force a fumble. Awesome. Now what happens to the Dolphins? Dolphins are backed up in their own end zone, and they allow a safety. That's unfortunate. And then Kansas City punts, Dolphins punt. Dolphins interception, that was the Xavier Howard interception. Dolphins score a touchdown. Chiefs punt, Dolphins touchdown. Chiefs field goal, Dolphins field goal, end the game. If that field goal's there, the Dolphins don't need to kick that last field goal. They need to go for the end zone. So these are some of the things that, it's unfortunate, but it's part of the game. Obviously, that safety doesn't help either, because this could be another field goal type game. But you're playing the best team in the NFL, so can't take too much away from them. But something I also want to go over is lots and lots and lots of injuries. We have Devontae Parker, Jakeem Grant, Mike Gesicki. All those 3 guys, the skill position players, go down. We have a lot of players that sat out this game, were injured. Calvin Noy, Landon Roberts, among other players. Austin Jackson got hurt there right before that safety happened. And it's just things that were compiling and really not being in the Dolphins' favor. Not making that excuse that that's why the Dolphins lost, but it does play a factor into it. I mean, if you look in that first quarter, the Dolphins' defense was all over Patrick Mahomes and that Kansas City offense. But it's a very typical fashion of Kansas City. They come back in the second half and they perform very well. And that's exactly what they did. They adjusted a lot better than the Dolphins did. I feel like the Dolphins got slightly outcoached, but I give kudos to the Dolphins as well because their players really executed very well off of what Kansas City was giving them. And, they tried their best to come back, and they made it a pretty decent fight, but it was a little too late. A little too late type of ending. It's very unfortunate. But there's some things that Dolphins need to work on, but something that's good to take away from this game is that they were able to hang in with probably one of the best teams in the NFL. So that gives something towards their future as a playoff hopeful and possible Super Bowl contender. But there's things that they need to definitely work on, and execution is definitely one of them. Got to give them credit to keep fighting, even though they have a lot of injuries against them. So those are some of the things I just want to say. That missed field goal was very, very came back to bite them, but so did that safety. So it's not only Jason Sanders' fault, it's not Tua's fault. It's just a lot of things that compounded into the Dolphins ended up losing this game. The defense tried their very best. They forced 4 turnovers. I mean, it's very unheard of that you force 4 turnovers and still lose the game. But when you're playing a team like the Kansas City Chiefs, that's what ends up happening. You got to be damn near perfect and still might not even win. So that's so yeah, scoring summary. Miami scores 7 in the first quarter, Kansas City 0. Then Kansas City goes 14 points in the second quarter, Dolphins 3 points. 16 points in the third quarter for Kansas City, 0 points for the Dolphins. 3 points for Kansas City in the fourth quarter. Dolphins 17 points in the fourth quarter, but like I said earlier, too little, too late. So that puts Dolphins at 8-5, and their next opponent is the New England Patriots back at home. Dolphins are going to be wearing the throwbacks once again. So, Dolphins still have a chance. I'm making this video very long for no reason, pretty much. But you guys get the gist. Dolphins start off their fourth quarter of the season with an L. To be kind of expected, but as a fan and someone who's been riding with this team for a while, you're kind of hopeful that they win this game. But that just means they got to win at least 2 of these last 3 games, or hopefully all 3 of them. But 2 out of 3 would be very good. But let's see what happens. That's about it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.